Hello, dear comrades. Now we will give you a general training course on the operation of the H-575 helicopter. So, we'll start with the ground power supply system. First, we need to connect the helicopter to the mains, for which we need to activate the onboard power switches. They are located under the pilot's seats and are clearly visible when you open the cockpit. These toggle switches are located on both sides. Imagine that the helicopter is discharged. We need to connect it to the ground power supply. Now we will look at the instruments located in the cockpit of the Rio pilot and operator. The brake is already installed, and now we can turn on the onboard computer. We can see that the screen in the center of the control panel has lit up. We can choose different operating modes: a GPS map, the same autopilot, video from other equipment, and a radar located at the top of the helicopter's rotor. The lighting control unit, where we can turn on and off the lights on board, starting from the parking lights and ending with the navigation lights. The most recent one is turning on the heaters so that it's not cold. Now we'll move closer to the pilot. This switch is used to disable all warnings and errors on board. When you click on it, the corresponding alarm will sound, which will notify you that the notification system is disabled. This means that you will no longer be distracted by signals about low altitude, radar exposure, stall, and so on. The heading toggle switch no longer affects anything. It was removed in a recent update. This is the taxiing mode toggle switch on the runway. We clearly showed you about it in the first training video. This toggle switch transfers control to the automatic flight system by coordinates from the GPS module. This is not enough to turn on the autopilot. You also need to activate the AP button on the touch screen. Everything in nanometers will be clear. You can see for yourself which one is responsible for what everything is signed. The toggle switch I'm looking at is responsible for turning on the radar radiation alert system. Let me introduce you to a few key switches that are responsible for setting up the engine. With their help, you can adjust the engine speed according to your needs. By default, the minimum revolutions are set at 14,000 per minute. They can only be increased if you need to tow heavy cargo. I recommend not exceeding the 30,000 RPM mark. Remember that the higher the RPM, the higher the fuel consumption. This should be taken into account. If you do not make any changes to the settings, then you will not need additional monitoring of the engine. It will function normally. We told you about the toggle switches and buttons in previous training sessions. We will move on to the fuel system, or rather, pumping fuel from the right tank to the left or vice versa. Using these buttons, we can move fuel to create a balance. To refuel our fuel tanks from the overhead tanks, we need to activate the fuel pumping system from the pylons. A pressure gauge is located in the same place, which shows the total fuel level in the outboard tanks. Be careful and do not forget to use this feature, as it significantly increases the flight range. This switch is responsible for resetting the dipole reflectors to protect the helicopter from radar missiles. We checked it works fine. However, do not forget that you have only 13 dipole reflectors. I'd also like to tell you about the radio control system. First, I need a radio remote control. We have made radio control for the helicopter only in special situations. This is a backup control channel. To control the helicopter, we need to set the 8 frequency on the remote control. After that, press the 1 key and you will get full control of the flight. So the course on general systems has come to an end. The next stage of your training will be the pilot operator training course.